My name is Amanda Benitez. I am a social worker. I have a LICSW, which stands for Licensed Independent Clinical Social Worker. And I also have a school social worker slash school adjustment counselor license as well. I have both my bachelor's and master's degree in social work. Couple things I wish I knew. I actually did not know that social work was a major going into undergrad, so that would have been helpful. I started out as an elementary ed, special ed major, and ended up switching my major halfway between my sophomore year. So I still graduated on time, which was great. Um, Also, internships were so important. I learned so much about the community and how things worked and systems. It was a great resume builder. It really helped me kind of hone my skills and figure out, if this was really something I could do or wanted to do. Um, in terms of my master's degree, I do wish that I did my internship in schools because I took a bit of a different path, and so it was a little bit more challenging for me to get licensed as a school social worker. So that is something I wish I had looked into more, and something I would definitely encourage people to if that's something they're interested in. Um, I also was able to get my master's at an accelerated status, and what that means is that if you have your undergrad in social work, you can go back to grad school within 5 years and do essentially half of the programming. So I did one internship as opposed to two. I didn't have to take as many credit hours, etc. So depending on if you go full time or part time, that can be a difference of like a year or 2 years of grad school. So that makes a major difference too. So if it's something you are considering, think about getting the undergrad in social work, or if you do have that, I definitely would advise going back within 5 years to make that more affordable and, just kind of a little bit more doable in that way. Advice for choosing graduate programs. One of the things to think about is kind of what you're most interested in. There are different programs for macro practice versus clinical practice. There are schools with more diverse student bodies and less diverse student bodies. I will say that social work school tends to be a lot of conversation and people bring a lot of life experience. So who your peers are does make a difference. Things like affordability are so important, and where internships are, and flexibilities of programs. Can you do things online? Can you do things on the weekend? Can you be part-time enrolled? Can you have internships in different states? Like what all of that looks like and what your preferences are, and so important. In all were considerations for me in choosing grad school. So, I think there's more than just like, this is a great school. You have to really think about all of those things. I don't think it comes as a surprise to anyone that social workers don't make a ton of money. So, thinking about what makes the most sense for you and your family, or, anything else should be a consideration for sure. In terms of my career so far, I have focused in mental health, and I've done quite a few different things in that. I started out after undergrad as an administrator in adult mental health, so I did a lot of quality improvement. I was head of billing for my area. I worked with like front desk staff. I did some grant writing and some event planning, and opened up some like new programs like outpatient clinics. So kind of got a really good understanding of what goes on and behind the scenes, for different therapists or different programs, etc. And I actually worked there through my master's degree, which was really helpful for me. And then once I finished my master's, I worked as a home-based therapist with children and families, doing some trauma-based work. After that, I worked in an inpatient geriatric unit for psychiatry, and I did a lot of case management, discharge planning, just kind of general treatment planning, etc. in that role. And then I was brought back to doing some children's work. I was a therapist based solely in a therapeutic school. So I was seeing kids in a school as well. On top of that, I was doing some private practice therapy and also some trauma-based like per diem work as well. And then finally, I ended in my current position, which is a school social worker for a therapeutic program in a public school. And so what that looks like day to day is I do one-on-one counseling for students on my caseload. I do group-based like social skill work. And then I do a lot of crisis management and de-escalation and just kind of helping students with some mental health needs kind of get through the day-to-day, and working with their parents or their outside providers, and just making sure that they have everything they need to kind of get through the day and advance their education and feel safe in the school, and all of those kind of challenges that they might face. My job is a little different than people that are adjustment counselors for the school at large. I work under the special education department. And so someone with that job might be doing more like classroom-based lessons on social skills or character, and then they might also kind of be doing the social skill groups and check-ins with kids, etc. So they might have less of a formal caseload and kind of be available to the school at large. So there are some differences there. One of the most rewarding things in my job is just the little gains or getting to see those moments where students or children or adults kind of get it. Some stories that come to mind. I was working with a young girl and we were naming strengths. And one of the strengths I named about myself was being pretty. And she kind of laughed, and we had a whole conversation about, is that okay to say? And what does that mean? And then she kind of named her strengths and she included that. And so it's the moments where you kind of have to challenge yourself. Maybe that's not something I would say day to day, but knowing that it's so important for me to role model what I want kids to see in themselves, and what the kind of confidence or self-esteem that I want them to see in themselves. Or, when a student introduces you as someone that helps them with their feelings, like that to me is such a privilege and an honor to be that person that they trust with their feelings and helps them, kind of when those feelings are tough. I think are some of the most rewarding things. Some of the most challenging things, in one of my internships, one of my supervisors had said to me, you need to censor what you watch. I watched a lot of like SVU and crime shows, and she basically said, like, we see so much trauma day to day that you need to censor what you expose yourself outside of that too. So yeah, you have to have good self-care. I run or spend time with my family or do those things, but I think it's so important to have those outlets. And it can be a really challenging job if you don't know, kind of how to take care of yourself that way. So I think that's it, but feel free to get in touch if you have any questions, and best of luck. It is a very, very rewarding career. All right. Thanks so much.